MINN of the Mississippi by Holling Clancy Holling. Chapter 1. Land of Ancient Waters. The old crow, sitting on the dead pine's tip, knew these great north woods. For years he had flapped and soared over northern Minnesota. Each spring he beat his black wings northward, finding his forests, lakes, and scattered farms unchanged. Yet this region that the old crow knew so well had been changed and rechanged in its ancient past, and each new change erased tracks of the last like waves on sand. The old crow wouldn't have given a feather for such a far-gone happening. At this winter-ending time, the country was wet. Feeling a raindrop on his beak, he cawed and flapped from his naked pine to a shaggy spruce tree. The wetness was coming again. Big drops pelted into the spruce and found the crow. Swinging his tail, he batted a drop into shimmering mist, but it was no use. The very air was full of water. He hugged his tattered black robe tighter, closed his eyes, and waited for what might come. It came by barrelfuls. It drenched the trees. It frothed on the ground, hissing through the old pine needles. The whole north woods was a sopping sponge. Waterspouts dribbled from beak and tail of a soggy crow. This north was a land of ancient waters. After volcanic heat had cooked rock crystals into granite, waters had come. Millions of rains ground granite surfaces into soils of sand and clay. Oceans covered these soils. Seabeds of sand were slowly compressed into sandstone, while clay and mud made shale. Shells of small sea animals thick on the ocean floors turned into limestone. For millions of years, seas came and rolled away. Great heat returned to stir and fold the rocks. Rains fell and drained off until great coldness came. Then rains became snow, which did not melt. Ages of snowfalls packed into solid ice sheets. The growing weight of ice pushed these glaciers outward inch by inch. They plowed through layers of sea-laid stone, crushed fire granite mountains. Towering ice cliffs carried countless tons of rock. Then the glaciers melted. They left vast drifts of boulders, gravel, sand, and dust across this northland. Green plants spread slowly beside new lakes. Trees grew again on new hills. At long last, one spruce tree held a wet crow, waiting for this latest deluge to end. The old crow had no words for talking, but he made plenty of sounds. He croaked, "Caw," which meant, "Can it be?" and "Caw," or "Rain has stopped." Walking a wet limb gingerly, he tried out his wet wings. They still worked, shrieking, "Caw, caw, caw." In great glee, he flung his body into space, beat his way to the dead pine's tip, and sat like a black carving mounted against a sun-gold cloud. The marsh and lake below him had come alive. Blackbirds sang, mallard ducks swam, a leaping bass sent ripples ringing out against a point of sand. "Caw!" laughed the crow, dropping toward a large dead pickerel tossed up by waves on the sandy point, its tail in water. As he landed, a nearby lily pad raised upward. Beneath bulged a reptile snout and two expressionless eyes. The crow and the turtle stared at each other across the dead fish. The crow began eating. Far over the lake sounded a great cawing. Black shapes whirled from the sky to cluster in trees. The old crow knew that crowd. He leaped up and flew in widening circles, screaming in crow sounds, "Hey, fellas, look! Food for all!" But even as he shouted, the turtle's jaws shot forward and snapped on the pickerel's tail. The fish was dragged down and eaten underwater. Later that season, the bird and the reptile both made nests. The turtle's nest was streamlined, the bird's was an untidy heap. The old crow and his mate teased twigs together, nudged and twined them on a limb of the pine far up from the ground. The 6 eggs might appear unsafe, about to roll from the nest's grass lining and be dashed to pieces, but they didn't. Too many crow generations had built rickety-looking but deep, safe nests before, and crows still flew. The crow nest was an open platform. The turtle's nest was a buried bowl. Crow eggs would hatch only with constant care, warmed by a feathered breast, wind protected by wings, rain-proofed by the whole spread-out body of a brooding crow. The turtle had merely scooped a pit in the sandy beach, laid her eggs, scraped sand over them, and then had gone hunting for food. She would not return. She would never know her own children. The old crow, with a keen taste for turtle eggs, had tried to find them, but the reptile's buried secret remained hidden from a hungry bird. 3 dozen eggs, like rubbery ping-pong balls, crowded the bowl of the turtle nest. Inside the shell of each egg lay mystic silver, called by mere humans the white. Within this floated a golden ball, the yolk, and in this, like a jellyfish hung in a sea, a soft seed waited to grow in its dark, round, still ocean. The sun's heat beat through the sand to the buried nest. Warmth spread down through all the eggs, layer by layer, to the very bottom egg, and crept through that shell to the soft seed hidden there in the friendly darkness. The warm seed started to swell. A strange and mysterious life bulged this seed till it pulled apart like one fat raindrop splitting into 2. As if longing for company, these 2 cells also swelled and divided, piling up more, all bulging and splitting. Thus these cells were growing and multiplying in their mysterious sea within a sea. These cells were not piling themselves for no purpose. They were adding new chains of cells within their secret ocean because the life in them held a memory. It remembered patterns laid out when the world was young. And, as though the life had been given a definite, detailed task, these cells shall build to a certain pattern within this sea. All cells were busily obeying this magic, mysterious order. They strung themselves together like beads, making a worm, yet this was no worm. They piled on more cells until the form was fish-like, yet it was not a fish. The form became frog-like, yet it was no frog. And then it was like a reptile, and it was a reptile, but of a special kind. Cells spread themselves into a shield curving over a turtle, a snapping turtle, a female snapping turtle, and there the pattern ended. In all the universe of this round egg, there was no memory of a shape beyond this, only a well-hidden hint of what the future might hold. From nothingness, a delicate, powerful life had fed upon the inner egg. Fluid food had swelled this life till it crowded its round, dark ocean. Now tight curled within its shell, it could grow no larger. Something must burst so that this life might continue growing in a wider world. And now looking at the pictures. Cross-section of the snapping turtle nest, the egg. Snappers lay round eggs up to 1 1/8 inches. Snappers also lay oval eggs 1 1/4 inch long. This is an average egg. And the seed, the yolk, the white or albumin. Each cell splits into 2 cells. Millions pile up to build a tiny embryo. The yolk absorbs the albumin and fills the shell. Blood vessels feed the embryo its yolk food. The embryo grows through many stages, worm-like, fish-like, amphibian, reptile stages, to become a baby turtle. As blood carries the yolk food into body, yolk shrinks and turtle grows. Drawn without membranes to show growth. This turtle grows inside a pouch of protecting membranes. This material has been redrawn from the book Embryology of the Turtle by the famous naturalist Louis Agassiz. From 1807 he was born, in 1873 he passed.